Welcome to this deep dive into the world of Bujinkan. Today, we're going beyond the kicks and punches to explore the legacy of its founder, Hatsumi Masaaki. Through the lens of the book Sensei, the book features stories from many of his students, each offering their own unique perspective on this influential figure. And let me tell you, Masaaki doesn't waste any time setting the tone. The book's dedication features a quote from him that reads, "Your life is on the line. Practice well." Whoa, talk about intensity, right?
It definitely grabs your attention. It speaks to the serious dedication at the heart of Bujinkan. But it also suggests that Masaaki's teachings extend beyond the training mat and into everyday life.
Okay, so let's dive right in. The book immediately throws us into Masaaki's role as Grandmaster of 9 martial arts schools. That's a lineage passed down from the legendary Toshitsugu Takamatsu, known as the Mongolian Tiger.
That lineage is incredible when you think about it. Masaaki inherited nearly 900 years of collective wisdom. We're talking samurai swordsmanship, ninja espionage, and everything in between.
It's mind-blowing to consider the depth and breadth of that knowledge. And what's fascinating is how Masaaki blended Eastern and Western philosophies, teaching his students to adapt and thrive in a world that's constantly changing.
Instead of rigid techniques, he emphasized adaptability, creativity, and understanding the human condition. It's almost like he was preparing them for all of life's challenges, not just physical confrontations.
And speaking of understanding, the book delves into the deep connection between teacher and student in Bujinkan. The bond sounds profound, almost like a family.
It really is, and that makes Masaaki's decision to eventually step back from teaching even more intriguing. It makes you wonder, how do you even begin to find a new teacher when that bond is so strong and unique?
That's a great question. But Masaaki himself always said that he wasn't a guru, but rather a guide. He believed in fostering self-reliance, urging his students to carve their own paths.
That's so important, especially in a martial arts context. He wasn't interested in creating followers. He wanted individuals who could think for themselves and navigate their own journeys.
So how does someone apply this to their own life? Well, Masaaki often talked about the concept of ikigai, which I think many of our listeners will find really interesting.
Ikigai, or a reason for being, is all about finding your purpose. It's the sweet spot where your passion, sales, what you're good at, and what the world needs intersect.
Exactly. And Masaaki truly lived that philosophy. He constantly evolved, pushing his own boundaries, and encouraged his students to find their own ikigai.
It's a reminder that life isn't about finding one perfect path, but about continually exploring and growing. It's like the concept of kaizen, that idea of consistent and sustainable improvement. Think small. Consistent steps forward rather than giant leaps.
And here's where things get really fascinating. The book highlights how Masaaki championed the Zen Buddhist principle of Shoshin, the beginner's mind. He felt that even when you're experienced, approaching learning with an open and curious mind is essential.
Especially in martial arts, where it's easy to get stuck in your ways and become rigid. But Masaaki never allowed himself to stagnate. He was always exploring new ideas and refining his techniques, which in turn kept his students on their toes.
The book mentions how his movements were so unpredictable that even his most experienced students would be caught off guard. Imagine training for years and still being surprised by your teacher.
That's a perfect illustration of Shoshin in action. It's about never assuming you have all the answers, always being open to new perspectives, and accepting that you never truly stop learning.
This brings to mind another core concept of Bujinkan, Richi, or the silent art of knowing. It's about cultivating deep situational awareness.
Richi involves being present and attuned to your environment, understanding what's happening on multiple levels. It goes beyond just your physical senses.
There's a grading test in Bujinkan, the Sōke test, where students have to sense their teacher's intention and react without conscious thought. It's almost like a sixth sense.
It's a powerful test of intuition and responsiveness, showing that Richi isn't about overthinking, but rather developing that intuitive understanding of what's unfolding around you.
Which ties into the concept of Zanshin, a state of heightened awareness and preparedness, something the book emphasizes repeatedly.
Zanshin is about maintaining alertness without tension. Think of it as a coiled spring, ready to react swiftly and efficiently. It's a concept essential for combat, but equally valuable in everyday life, especially in those high-pressure situations.
It's like a balancing act. You're ready for anything without being consumed by anxiety.
Exactly. You're calm but ready. The book also explores the role of pain in Bujinkan training, which might seem surprising at first. It's not about cause suffering, but about building resilience and understanding.
I was intrigued by this part. Masaaki himself went through incredibly intense training under Takamatsu Toshitsugu, and those experiences shaped his view on the value of pain.
It's about staying composed under pressure, and making smart decisions even when you're uncomfortable. Facing pain in a controlled environment helps you build empathy and insight, allowing you to understand yourself and others on a deeper level.
So it's not about seeking out pain, but about extracting valuable lessons from those inevitable moments when it arises.
Exactly. Think of it as a learning opportunity. Now, Masaaki often referenced four fundamental elements of Bujinkan: Metsubushi, Kuzushi, Moguri, and Nagare. These are interesting because they go beyond just physical techniques.
They're more like overarching principles, applicable to life in general.
Right. For example, Metsubushi is about creating confusion to exploit openings, both physically and psychologically. Think about how often we get caught up in our own rigid thinking. Metsubushi encourages us to disrupt those patterns, to create uncertainty and open up new possibilities.
That's a great point. It's like shaking things up to gain a new perspective. And then there's Kuzushi, which is about disrupting balance, both physical and mental.
It's that realization that sometimes to move forward, you need to shake things up, step outside your comfort zone, and embrace a little chaos.
I love how these concepts translate so well to everyday situations. And Moguri, which is all about adapting to obstacles and finding the path of least resistance.
It's a valuable lesson in itself. It reminds you that sometimes the most direct route isn't always the best, and there's no shame in taking a detour. Sometimes being flexible and finding a workaround is the most effective way to overcome an obstacle.
And then we have Nagare, which is all about going with the flow and responding to the ever-changing dynamics of a situation. Imagine yourself as a dancer, adapting to the music and your partner's movements.
That's a fantastic analogy. Nagare encourages us to let go of the need for absolute control and surrender to the present moment. It's about trusting your skills and intuition to navigate whatever comes your way.
You know, it's interesting how Masaaki used game to teach these principles. He clearly understood the value of play in fostering adaptability and a sense of wonder. The book mentions how he would create these unexpected scenarios, forcing his students to think on their feet and come up with creative solutions.
There's a great anecdote about Stephen K. Hayes, one of Masaaki's students. He was struggling with a basic rolling technique, and Masaaki turned it into a game, encouraging Hayes to approach it with a childlike curiosity and loosen up. It shows how Masaaki used playfulness to help his students break through their limitations and discover new possibilities.
That's such a great example. It reminds me of those times when I get stuck in a rut, trying to force things to happen. Maybe I need to channel a little more of that Nagare spirit and see where it takes me.
I think we can all benefit from embracing a more playful approach. Especially when facing challenges, it allows us to be more flexible and resourceful, which is crucial for navigating the twists and turns of life.
Absolutely. And speaking of navigating life's challenges, Masaaki believed deeply in the concept of ikigai, that reason for being. He truly embodied it, constantly evolving and pushing himself to new heights.
And he encouraged his students to do the same, to find their own ikigai, their unique contribution to the world, and pursue it with passion and dedication.
It's such an empowering message, especially in a world where it's easy to feel lost or unsure of your purpose. It's a reminder that we all have something special to offer, and it's up to us to discover and share it.
And that journey of discovery isn't always smooth sailing. There will be setbacks, challenges, and moments of doubt. That's why Masaaki emphasized embracing pain and discomfort as opportunities for growth.
His own experiences with intense training under Takemasu Toshitsugu taught him valuable lessons about the role of pain in the learning process. It wasn't about seeking out suffering, but about learning to stay calm and make strategic decisions even when facing difficult situations.
It's about building resilience, both physical and mental. And think about it, when you understand your own capacity for pain, you develop a deeper understanding of others who are going through similar experiences. It cultivates compassion and empathy.
It's like those times when you push yourself beyond your limits in a workout. You gain a new appreciation for your own strength and resilience.
Exactly. And that newfound strength can translate to other areas of your life, helping you face challenges with more confidence and grace.
You know, I'm starting to see a common thread running through all of these concepts. Shoshin, Richi, Zanshin, the four elements, they all point to the importance of staying present, adaptable, and resilient in the face of whatever life throws our way.
That's a great observation. It's almost like Masaaki was creating a blueprint for navigating life complexities. He was teaching his students to be present, to observe, to adapt, and to respond effectively to any situation.
And he wasn't afraid to borrow wisdom from different cultures. The book mentions how he even incorporated a gesture from a Polynesian warrior into his teachings after observing it during a trip abroad.
He was a lifelong learner, constantly seeking new knowledge and integrating it into his own practice. It shows that true mastery isn't about clinging to rigid traditions, but about being open to new ideas and evolving as the world changes.
He was a living embodiment of that beginner's mind. That Shoshin we talked about earlier, it's like he never stopped being a student, always seeking to deepen his understanding and refine his skills.
And that openness extended to his willingness to bridge Eastern and Western philosophies. He saw the value in both and created a synthesis that resonated with students from all over the world.
Speaking of bridging different perspectives, I was fascinated by the concept of Richie, the silent art of knowing that we touched on earlier. It's about developing such a heightened sense of awareness that you can practically read a situation without even thinking about it.
Ritchie is about tapping into that intuitive understanding, that sixth sense, that allows you to perceive subtle cues and react instinctively to your surroundings. It's almost like becoming hyper-aware of the energy in a room, or sensing someone's intentions before they even speak.
I remember reading about the Sōke test in Bujinkan, where a student has to sense their teacher's intention and react without conscious thought. It sounds almost like a mind game.
It's a testament to the power of Ritchie. It shows that true awareness isn't just about what you see or hear, but about a deeper understanding that goes beyond the five senses. It's about tapping into that intuitive wisdom that's often drowned out by the noise of our busy minds.
And this ties into the concept of Zanshin, that state of heightened awareness and preparedness.
Exactly. Zanshin is about maintaining a calm alertness, like a coiled spring ready to react swiftly and effectively. And remember, while it's essential in martial arts, it's equally valuable in everyday life, especially in those high-pressure situations.
It's about finding that balance between being prepared for anything without getting bogged down by anxiety.
Precisely. It's like you're carrying an umbrella on a cloudy day, you're prepared for rain, but you don't let the possibility ruin your enjoyment of the walk.
That's a perfect analogy. And it brings us back to the idea that Masaaki wasn't just teaching fighting techniques. He was teaching a way of being in the world. He was equipping his students with tools to navigate life's challenges with grace, resilience, and awareness. There's a chapter in the book by Bruce Hellander, an artist and one of Masaaki's students, called Poetry in Motion. It beautifully captures the artistic dimension of Masaaki's movements.
It highlights the connection between martial arts and other art forms like calligraphy, dance, and music. They all share those core principles of precision, timing, and flow. Watching Masaaki move was like witnessing a living, breathing work of art.
It sounds like such a beautiful expression of human potential. So for our listeners who are feeling inspired to learn more about Bujinkan, what advice would you give them based on what we've discussed?
I would say approach it with an open mind and a beginner spirit. Embrace the discomfort that comes with growth. Don't be afraid to ask questions and challenge yourself. Remember, Bujinkan goes beyond just learning techniques. It's a philosophy, a path of self-discovery and transformation that can truly enrich your life.
Beautifully put. And as Masaaki himself might say, keep going, never stop learning, evolving, and exploring.
Well said. I think that's a perfect way to wrap up this deep dive.